Congress has certified President-elect Trump, and Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation. And Pope Francis appoints a new leader of the Catholic Church in Washington who advocates for open borders, LGBTQIA plus Catholics, and so much more. You don't want to miss one moment today on the Endtime Show. Thank you for joining us on the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. Don't forget to share the video, give us a heart, thumbs up, and make sure that you're commenting in the comment section. Let us know what you think as we go along. It helps us break through the algorithm and get to your friends and family. Like I've said, we know that the guy from Meta, Doug, help me with his name. I totally lost it just now. Mark Zuckerberg, that's right.
Thanks,
we know
Sam.
He's announced that he's going back to our roots with free speech, but it's hard to trust him, to be honest with you. So we still need your help. Share the video as much as you can with all your groups and so forth, and it'll go a long way in breaking through the algorithm. Before we get into today's show, we know there's nothing wrong with preparing a bit physically, and many of you have emergency supply of food and water, or you're in the market for a long-lasting food supply. You need to go check out readypantry.com/endtime, and you'll get free shipping on all orders. Their food's 100% made in the United States, never imported, and they even have a buy now, pay later option. So go to readypantry.com/endtime, use code endtime, and save 10% off your order. All right, we're less than 2 weeks away from Inauguration Day. Of course, Congress just certified Trump, and people are wanting to know now what happens. Some are getting into coast mode because their guy won, if you will. However, there is still action to take regardless of who is in office, and we're it's a pleasure of ours to have our friend Philip Patrick from Birch Gold joining us to talk about the dollar, reserves, debt, and so much more. Philip, welcome back to the Endtime Show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and got a lot of rest over the holidays.
I did indeed. It was wonderful. Thank you,
Good.
guys.
Well, there's big news this week for the dollar. According to the International Monetary Fund, the dollar share of global reserves fell to a 30-year low. For all of us regular people, can you help us understand what that means?
Yeah, of course. So the dollar is a currency that we use here in the United States, but it's also the global reserve currency, and nations around the world typically have been stockpiling US dollars that they're using for trade. But obviously, with everything that's been happening over the last 4 years, these countries around the world have been dumping the dollar. Now dollar holdings amongst foreign governments are at 30-year lows. And that trend is continuing. That started obviously under the Biden administration. And it's no surprise, really. It's being driven by a number of different things. Obviously, over the last 4 years, the dollar's been losing value. It's lost about 20%. On top of that, the Biden administration and previous administrations has been using the dollar as a financial weapon more and more frequently. And I think nations around the world are starting now to seek alternatives. So this is an easy thing for President Trump to walk into. He's got a much tougher job on his hands now than he did coming in 2016.
So with weaponization, what does it mean to weaponize the dollar? Help us understand that a little bit more.
Of course, it's a great question, and the answer is just basically sanctions, right? Since the turn of the century and after 2001, US-led sanctions internationally have increased by about 900%. So more and more sanctions being led by the US. And of course, I think the straw that broke the camel's back were the sanctions against Russia. We froze their dollar holdings, we kicked them off the SWIFT system, and by doing so, we essentially blacklisted them from the global financial system. And I think nations around the world who have different political ideologies realized that they could be next. The dollar is a powerful weapon, so they're starting now to push away from the dollar to reduce reliance on it, and in the process, of course, weaken the dollar and weaken our weapon.
Well, and we just saw, actually a few hours ago, Donald Trump Jr. landed in Greenland, and Trump just announced that tariffs will begin if they don't free up Greenland. And of course, we've heard about Canada as well. So that is being talked about every hour in the news right now. What do global debt levels have to do with the dollar's loss of status globally?
By the way, it is a crazy world. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see if we can sort of take over Canada and Greenland. But I'm not sure about that. But in terms of global debt levels, look, it's the biggest issue we have today in the world, right? Any sovereign nation can print its own currency. It's not really much of a trick. The problem is that printing currency doesn't actually add value. Rather, it just lowers the relative value of all other currencies in circulation. Printing money has no intrinsic value. It has none whatsoever. It's just an IOU from the government to whoever owns currency. Now, starting in the middle of last year, the World Bank and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, have been issuing alarm bells on global debt levels. Basically, during the pandemic panic, every nation just went too far, and the fallout now is crushing their citizens between rising prices and a loss of purchasing power. See, the higher global debt levels climb, the more currency is printed and the less every single dollar, euro, or ruble is worth. Now, since central bankers control the supply of money, they are much more tuned into this dynamic than most of the public, which is why central banks around the world have been buying gold at record levels. Essentially, they're diversifying their reserves away from IOUs into something more intrinsic that has lasting value.
Well, over the last 4 years, you mentioned it a moment ago, the dollar's lost more than 20% of its purchasing power, and I have some dollars in my wallet right now, and I feel the effect of that when I go into Costco and Walmart and places like that. It doesn't go as far as it used to, so we all really feel this effect, don't we?
We do, right? And specifically us here in the United States, we feel it. Now, nations around the world, citizens around the world, they feel it as well, but not always equally, right? How bad it looks sort of depends on where you live, right? To a Turkish businessman, owning dollars today still looks like a great move. Why? Because local prices in Turkey have quadrupled over the last 4 years, right? So the dollar's not bad for the Turks, right? On the other hand, in Japan, cumulative inflation over the same time period was just 8%. So anybody in Japan who diversified their savings with dollars, the world's global reserve currency, lost 12% of their purchasing power. See, what we see as inflation, other nations see as currency devaluation, steadily destroying the value of their assets. And it's not just them, as you said, it is us too. Everybody who pays in dollars, everybody who owns dollars, we're slowly being robbed of our purchasing power every single day. And it applies to us, and it applies to nations around the world that use the dollar every single day.
You mentioned Japan and Turkey. How are these other nations fighting the destruction of the dollar, their dollars?
Look, I mean, Japan are dumping US debt at high levels, largely for the reason we mentioned. It's the BRICS nations specifically that are driving de-dollarization, right? Look, the problem that these countries like Russia, China, Iran have is by holding the dollar, they're creating demand for it, which makes the dollar stronger. We're then wrapping it up into a stick and we're beating the countries over the head. So they want to get out of dollars. But the flip side is, amongst them, they don't have a better currency, right? China don't want to hold Russian rubles. They're too volatile. So what these nations are doing are dumping dollars and buying gold, and it's achieving two things for them, right? Number one, it gives them the stability that they need. Gold is a better trade than the dollar is today. The more gold they buy, it allows them to de-dollarize, to drive the value of the dollar down and weaken our position on the global stage. So buying gold is achieving two things for these countries, and that's the one thing I don't think President Trump can stop. At the end of the day, we're a democracy, and he's going to be out in 4 years. Russia, China, Iran, they're dictatorships. They're looking beyond the next election cycle in the United States. They're planning long term.
Philip, what do you tell people when they say, well, I can't go to the grocery store and buy groceries with gold? How do you help them understand when they ask you questions like that?
course. And I get that question a lot. And the reality is that's not what gold is for, right? If things are so bad that we need to hand in gold coins for food, that's a bad climate. But look, the idea with gold is very simple. It increases as the cost of living does, right? So I'll give you an example. In biblical times, 1 ounce of gold bought 400 loaves of bread. Today, it buys the same thing. Currency in that same time period loses value. So the idea with gold is very simple. If we keep our money in cash today, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, it will buy less at the grocery store. By putting it into gold, as things get more expensive, the price of gold goes up as well. We sell it for many more dollars and we protect our money's ability to buy. So this isn't about hoarding gold and spending it and using it. It's about using it as a financial asset to hedge inflation and currency decline. That's what it's designed for.
Perfect. And that's part of why we tell everybody to go to birchgold.com/endtime and get that free info kit. And of course, right now, there's a help me with the title of the document that's coming out now with gold in the Trump era, I think is something like what it's called. Is that right?
It is. We've created a guide on how to invest and why to invest in gold under a Trump administration. It should help create clarity. Listen, I'm as excited for Trump as anybody else. And I think the last 4 years, we couldn't suffer another 4 years of Biden-esque policy. However, people have to understand what President Trump is inheriting and the gamble here, right? He's been given the job too late, in my opinion. And if he can pull it off, it will be the biggest thing in history. So people have to understand what he's up against. And I think it's a case of just making sure we're prepared in case it doesn't work. And that's what precious metals will do.
Well, thanks so much again for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on and helping bring some clarity to a lot of these confusing things that are out there. Thanks, Philip.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, guys. Great to see you.
Likewise. Have a good one. Again, go to birchgold.com/endtime and get that guide today. Totally free. There's no obligation. So go to birchgold.com/endtime, and the foreword is written by Donald Trump Jr. You definitely want to check that out today. All right, Doug, now what? On a prophecy front, there's so much to talk about. And we saw yesterday, there were some clips we wanted to play about Congress certifying Trump, but we couldn't play them because we don't have the license to the YMCA song.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how much humor we can handle on today's show.
We'd probably get a little bit of pushback for that if we did that. And we might even get censored on Facebook and some other social media fronts. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be repercussions for this election and things that are happening. And we're already beginning to see those things happen within the world. I mean, major things. Before Trump even gets in office, he's had world leaders come to Mar-a-Lago, which is really what a lot of people think the White House is for Trump, is his Mar-a-Lago home. But we've seen a lot of foreign leaders come there and already have meetings with Trump because of the fact that he's won this election, and they know, okay, the next 4 years, we're going to be dealing with him. So they're bypassing the administration now, going straight to Trump. But we're also seeing other things happen in the world. And, I mean, with the situation like we were just talking about with Philip there about gold and all that, it makes you wonder, okay, what's a Trump administration going to do for this economy, coming in here? We know it'll boost a little bit, but like he said, 4 years isn't going to be enough to do anything with it. It's gone past that point to where we really can't do anything with it 4 years. But we're starting to see bits of, I guess, the one world government beast kind of break down a little bit, and it's great for me, being someone that this is what we do for a living, this Bible prophecy stuff, because we're seeing prophecy appear as though, here we go, it's starting to happen more and more. And so yesterday was a great day. Remember, January 6th, 4 years ago, was not such a great day for the United States. And the left has used January 6th as a way to make, terms like insurrection be a household thing. I'd never heard of an insurrection really before 2020. You didn't hear that much talk of it. But anyway, we won't get into the J6 stuff, but we're just going to say that yesterday was very much different than 2020. and Congress did certify the election as Trump and Vance moving forward. So it was a great day for our country. A sad day, I think, for Kamala Harris, because she had to stand up. And I mean, we could have shown that video probably of her announcing what the electoral votes were. She stood up and told everybody that Trump had won with 312 votes and that she had received 226. Well, as soon as she got the 312 out, I believe there was a standing ovation, and it was so loud there after a few moments of that cheering and celebrating. She did bring the gavel down and quiet everybody down to move forward with the proceedings. So anyway, interesting. Like I said, it almost made me feel sorry for her that she's the one that had to read that.
She's the first person ever to have to do that, right? That lost.
Yeah, I believe so. And so it was kind of sad in that respect. I mean, I don't like her policies, and I don't really know her as a person to say if I like her as a person or not, but based on the things that she said and the things that I've seen her do these last 4 years and the things that I've seen her not do, I still feel sorry for her, even though I see those things and I go, man, she would be the worst leader in the world, worse than...
She's leading all the betting sites, I think, for the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party in 2028. So
really,
yes. So you might have another chance to review her policies.
I really don't think so. I just don't. At this point, I don't think so.
You said yesterday was a great day.
Yeah.
But today's a greater day, Doug.
Yeah, today's been a great day.
When you're a child of God,
yeah,
every day ahead, everything ahead is greater.
Yeah.
Greater things are ahead, Doug.
Yeah,
Today's
absolutely
special because it's your birthday, and you told me not to
man.
mention it, but I couldn't help myself.
I know you can't. Oh, and you got a graphic. Great.
Happy birthday,
Thank
Doug.
you so much.
So, they even got music for you. I would sing it if I could.
Wow.
But
Thank
it's
you.
Doug's birthday today.
Oh,
so be
boy.
sure to put Doug in the comments. Happy birthday, Doug. And I promise I won't make it last all month this year. I didn't know anything about the music, Doug. So
wow.
all I know about is the graphic and me saying it. And it's out there in the looks like about the hill country, somewhere you want to be.
That looks like it's probably in West Texas, where I go hog hunting quite a bit. That's what it looks like.
There you go. So happy birthday, Doug. It's a great day today.
Thank you so much.
And he's going to be mad at me.
Another year older.
I won't live this one down for a while, but.
Okay, so moving on.
Okay, so they certified him yesterday, and how is that going to work with the judge sentencing Trump on these felony charges here this Friday?
Well, I know that to me this is crazy, and I don't know why.
He has to appear, right? He has to appear in person.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to. The judge has now said that he can remote in for the sentencing. But yes, there's going to be a sentencing on January 10th, which is Friday, this coming Friday. And really, I mean, Vince, when we're looking at all the things that are happening, I mean, look at some of the things that Biden is doing on his way out. I have heard through some of the other channels out there that Biden possibly has a big surprise for Israel before he leaves office too. So he's got just a few more days left. But let's hope that he doesn't do something like Barack Obama did before he left office, and where he had an opportunity to veto a bill that they were trying to, or not a bill, but a resolution that they were trying to pass there in the UN that made the settlers out in Judea become war criminals for settling in that area, even though it belongs to Israel. They're saying they're occupying that territory. Barack Obama could have vetoed that and kept it from being passed, that resolution being passed. He decided not to, and the resolution was passed. So some people are saying that Biden may do something like that. This judge, I feel like he's doing something like that to Trump. It's almost like a thumb in the eye of President Trump, because the thing about it, here's the details about it. If you haven't heard about it, this is kind of the deal. It's an let me just read this. Judge Juan M. Merchain, or however you say his name. Merchant has scheduled the sentencing for President-elect Donald Trump for January 10th, just 10 days before the inauguration. So there's one kicker right there. It's 10 days before. Trump faces sentencing for 34 felony counts. And remember that these were felony counts that they had to bring on this special hearing, and all this loopholes they had to jump through to even make this work, because it was past the statute of limitations anyway. And it wouldn't have been a felony, even what they were charging him with, but they did it in New York because they could bump it up to a felony. So they've done all these things for this. But anyway, it's 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payment to Stormy Daniels in 2016. Despite the felony conviction, the judge hinted that the likely outcome, now get this, is an unconditional discharge, which avoids imprisonment, fines, or probation. So there's not going to be anything that's going to happen. There's not going to be imprisonment, no fines, no probation, but it's going to keep a felony conviction on his record. And it's almost like it's just like a slap in the face, and they just want to bring Trump down to say, you're a felon. You're a felon. You've been convicted of, these accounts of felony. And it's not even going to have anything to do, because the Supreme Court has already ruled that he has presidential immunity on these charges. And so it's crazy. It's crazy. Some people say, I've heard some folks talk about this, and they said that possibly what this could be is Trump can appeal on this, and he can bring evidence into this case that would expose other people, and it might be a good thing in the long run for Trump. And it seems like, Vince, every time they come up with something to get Trump with, it ends up boomeranging and coming back on them, backfiring, and they end up being exposed more and more. The people that are, look at the lawyers and all the people that were presenting these cases and the things that have come out, like with Fannie Mae and those kind of things. So it always seems to backfire. But one of the things is, under New York law, the felony conviction will require Trump to provide DNA samples to the state crime database. So there you go. Just one of those things. I feel like they're doing this because they can, and because it humiliates Trump in a way. So,
well, I need to circle back.
Okay.
I got clarification from an end-timer, a few of them actually.
Okay.
Al Gore had to certify his loss. Kamala's the first female presidential candidate.
Well, there you go.
To have to certify
she was the
her
first.
loss. So there we go. And as our producer just informed us on our earpiece, that she's the first female of color.
There you go.
And he's a man of color, and he's wanting to make sure we clarify that.
Yeah.
He might be upset with me for saying that, actually.
I don't know. Somehow I don't feel like
Sam will be fine.
With that.
Either way,
He'll
I've known
fine.
Sam for a long time. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Sam is a man of many hats as well.
Yes, he is.
He wears many hats.
A great
around
man.
here,
Put
so.
Sam in the comments.
There
Show
you
Sam
go.
some love. You never hear about Sam or see Sam on camera,
Right.
but
we hear him in our ear.
we hear him in our ear, and he sets a lot of things up, and standing over. Wow. All right. Well, so maybe I just need some First Cup coffee to help get me on track,
go.
Doug, because I could use some right about
Me
now.
too.
The Buzz Armstrong specifically is my favorite roast. Doug, your favorite roast is the Boston Common. I heard my son saying it in my ear, in my head rather. First Cup coffee, you all need to try it if you haven't already. If you haven't, I don't know what you're waiting on. Firstcup.com. They've got 11 different roasts, each one named after a specific piece of American history. They now have 3 coffee shops open in the Houston area. You can get one of those roasts by going to firstcup.com. You don't have to travel to Houston for it. And when you use code Endtime, you get 10% off. Subscribe, they'll give you another 10% off. So go to firstcup.com right now and use code Endtime to get that 10% off.
They just opened that one in Woodlands, which is beautiful. I wonder if we could get them to kind of progress north a little bit and open one here in Plano.
I keep telling them Endtime HQ would be a great place for
we really could just have one here in our lobby.
at Endtime. Why not?
And people could just stop by Endtime, get a great cup of First Cup,
Let's make it
and
happen.
hang out and talk to us a little bit.
Tag First Cup in your comments
you
and tell
go.
them they need
Tell
to
them.
set up a, what do they call it, one of their coffee shops. That's not what I'm thinking of, but set up one of their coffee shops at Endtime.
We got ours today in the mail. We got our little alert that it came in, and it's a good thing because we were running very low. We had to borrow some from one of our Bible study participants the other day because we ran low. So anyway, we got our bag now, so we're good.
Well, back on track here, Doug. I know it's your birthday and we want to celebrate all day, but
oh my goodness.
I promise I won't do it all of January like I did last year, just maybe all the show. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he's announced his resignation. What is that in the Bible, or I'm getting tagged saying this is part of the 10-horned beast? So,
well, there's some interesting things going on. We talked about, pre-broadcast that we talked about. Trump has said some interesting things like making Canada part of the United States, as well as making Mexico part of the United States. And that's interesting in itself. We won't go there today because that's a big can of worms. A lot of people in the chat probably know what we're talking about and probably even know what that means. But he has, remember when Trudeau came? Because in this article, he talks about, Trudeau says that he feels like because he's taken so much resistance from the party, that he feels like the fight that he's doing internally there, he would not be the right candidate right now for Prime Minister of Canada. Now, there are probably Canadians all over the place right now hooping and hollering for that, if they hoop and holler in Canada. I think they do. They're kind of like cowboys out there in Canada. I mean, we've met a few Canadians and got some friends that are Canadians, and they're kind of like us. So they'd hoop and holler, I think. But anyway, he's saying that these internal battles are causing him, not to be able to do what he needs to do. But then when Trump talks about the tariffs and everything, it worried Trudeau so bad that he came to Mar-a-Lago and met with Trump. And remember what Trump told him? Remember what he said?
About the 51st state?
Yeah. And what Trudeau's job would be in that 51st state? He could be the governor of Canada.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, I don't know that has anything to do with his decision, but we'll maybe...
Interesting timing.
Yeah. Well, here we are up against the break. But when we come back, let's talk about what Germany said about Trump's election and how that could have affected Trudeau.
We'll do that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break.
A reminder of the breaking news this hour. At least 22 people are reported to have died in a strike in Gaza.
The rise of Islam.
We're trying to bring answers for so many families desperately.
Is the Israel-Hamas-Iran conflict World War III? So let's talk about the four horsemen. What do these horses symbolize? These are the four spirits of the heavens which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. In the end time, the true people of God will not be weak, anemic, and defeated. These prophesied events are revealing we are quickly approaching the time of the Great Tribulation right now.
Now streaming on OneSource and available to order at endtime.com/green. Go to endtime.com/green or call 800-ENDTIME.
What if you could understand Bible prophecy? Dave Robbins, the host of the Endtime Show's TV and radio programs, is holding a free prophecy conference near you. Gain peace and understanding about what the Bible says concerning end-time prophecy. Call 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com/events to see when Dave will be in a location near you.
Welcome back to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. Dave will be in an area near you starting this weekend. We kick off our 2025 conference schedule. Dave will be in the Dallas area, specifically in Garland. He'll be teaching Saturday night at 6 p.m. a brand new lesson. The Lord has been working him over for the last several months about a message that he has got to share with the world, and he's going to start that this Saturday night at 6 p.m. if you're in the Dallas area, make plans to come out and join us, specifically in Garland. Like I said, if you're not in the Dallas area, I would make plans to come here. I know it's going to snow perhaps on Thursday, but in Dallas that may not even happen, and it might be melded by the afternoon anyway. So come on out. We would love to meet you there. Saturday night 6 p.m., Sunday night at 6 p.m. And actually at the same church, North Cities, I'm actually preaching that morning, Sunday morning. So 9 and 11 I'm preaching. You got Dave 6 p.m., me 9 and 11, and Dave again 6 p.m. on Sunday. So it'll be a full weekend for all of us. Our team will be there. My family will be there specifically. And Doug, we're going to have a great time, I think.
Yeah, and if you do travel here with a chance of snow in Dallas, that means that you better bring a loaf of bread with you, because the grocery store will not have milk or bread or toilet paper by tonight, probably. Everybody's
I think it's already gone.
It.
Yeah, I've seen pictures posted of
Yeah.
bread and eggs are missing.
Yeah, so anyway, people kind of freak out when they hear snow around Dallas. We don't get that much. But anyway, we were talking about before about how the Trump being elected has the world up in arms, and things are happening within these leaders and in their cabinets. Now, some people say that this could be a result of Trump winning that election, that Trudeau decides to drop out. And the other thing about that is we've heard that Germany was really the first, they were really the first coalition that, you know, collapsed because of Trump. And the Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, said within hours of the U.S. election results that Trump's return was a factor in splintering Germany's ruling coalition. And so we're talking about Germany. When you hear Germany, I mean, that perks our ears up, because we know that Germany is in that world order, that one world order that's mentioned in Revelation 13. And also other stories that are coming out now. Today there was a story that Iran has increased their military exercises since Trump won the election, because their fear is that Trump will start a war with them because of the situation that's been going on in Israel. And today, did you send me the video today of Trump saying that if the hostages were not released by the time he gets in office on January 20th, that there would be a great redemption coming. There would be like repercussion for that. And I won't tell you what he said, but it's not a place that you want to go to, would break loose. So,
yes,
anyway,
I sent you that video.
Yeah, okay, I thought that was you. So, I mean, Trump is very serious about this. I mean, I thought that he was joking about Greenland, and then the Air Force Trump, whatever they call that thing, Trump Force One, lands in Greenland today with Trump Jr. Going to speak to the people there in Greenland, and then Trump issues a warning to Denmark that they should let go of Greenland. So he's serious about this stuff. He's not messing around. He's being serious when he says things. Who knows, he may be serious about Canada becoming the 51st state.
Oh, so, I think he's serious.
Yeah. And what's the guy from Shark Tank that met with him last week? What's that guy's name?
Kevin O'Leary?
Yeah, he meets with Trump last week to even discuss this further. Yeah, because he's Canadian. And he's like, this would be a great move for Canada. So who knows what's going to happen.
It's going to be, Doug, it's really weird what also, so that is coming out today. Of course, we already knew about the Canada thing, but that specific meeting about Hamas that you just mentioned, and then the Greenland statements being made today, and Trump Jr. appearing there, or landing there, and then all that's happening, and there's one more major thing going on that I cannot think of all of a sudden. I had it in my mind. You'd think it was my birthday, and I'm the one getting older. By the way, people want to know, how old are you, Doug?
I am 58 years old.
58?
So, yeah, a couple years
you look
shy
great.
of 60.
You look great. You don't look
thanks.
58.
Thank you. I don't feel 58 either. Sometimes I feel 12 working here at Endtime, but anyway, I feel great, and thank you for caring.
Happy birthday. That's the last time I'll say it on this show. How about that?
Appreciate it.
The other thing was that Mark Zuckerberg does this video, and he announces, first of all, that the UFC president, I can't think of his name now either, but he's now on the board of directors, which is This is a man that wouldn't lay anyone off during COVID and kept holding events and pretty much acted out in all the ways opposite of what Facebook said we should live, and even Mark Zuckerberg. And then Dana White is his name.
Yes.
He's now on the board of directors for Meta, and that they are going to no longer restrict political speach and gender conversation. All that is going away. They're taking away fact checkers.
Yeah.
And they're going to add community notes similar to how X is doing. It's like all this information comes out today. And the day after Trump is certified, I don't know if it's connected. It feels like now, well, even Zuckerberg, he did mention the election and how the political, the climate of our language and our culture has clearly shifted, and they did not hear it clearly because of how loud the legacy media and politicians have been to them.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and all the timing of all, it's like there's a lot of moving parts, Doug, and it's all coming together.
Yes.
And I don't know what's next. It's actually really wild to think about what could be next.
It is wild, and it seems like people are realizing the majority of people are tired of the wokeness stuff, and so they're waking up to that and they're changing their tune. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But remember,
Gulf of America. How did I forget that?
That
also
was the other big story. Yeah, where he's going to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
How do you change a name?
I don't know,
like that?
But that'll. I mean, if anybody can do it, Trump can do it. I mean, it'll get done if that's something that he wants done. I mean.
It's weird.
It's crazy. All this is crazy. But remember, because this is how these things begin to tie into Bible prophecy, and we start to understand things. We've been saying for a long time the reason why we support a Trump presidency is because Trump has pulled us out of world government before. His first run, he began to pull us out of the world government, and things like that were happening. Of course, Biden put us right back in when he came in. So we're hoping to see Trump make some things happen here in this next 4 years that are going to lead into the things that we see in prophecy, because we're watching so many other things be fulfilled right now, with all the things going on in the Middle East, the things that look like they're shaping up and they're beginning to happen. Talk about a third temple, like openly they've gone up there, they've worshipped on the temple, they got red heifers, they had the menorah lighting on the outer court the other day, and there's open talk about that now, like sharing the Temple Mount and things like that is starting to be something that you're hearing more of. It's like there's been a shift in the world, and the shift is not only in a physical, but it's also in a spiritual, almost is how it feels. And remember, the elites, they wanted to go in one way. I know you just felt that because you've been going, I know what you're saying. In the one world government, we've got people like Klaus Schwab, who said that he controlled most of Canada's cabinet, that he had a lot of his young global leaders installed in that cabinet. Now we're watching that cabinet fall apart. Klaus Schwab resigned at the first, well, not the first of this last year, but like midway through, he said he was going to resign. He hasn't completely stepped away. He's just resigned from chairman of the WEF. And now somebody else, I think one of his kids, it might be his daughter, has kind of stepped into that role. But remember that Trump stood in the belly of the beast, Vince, and he told them America will never submit to a one world government. We will never surrender our what am I trying to say here? Sovereignty. Thank you. We'll never surrender that. And he did that from the floor of the WEF back in his first 4 years that he ran. So these are interesting things that are starting to happen, and it's not just, like I said, it's not just with politics either. It's with spiritual leaders. And so we see that with the other story that you talked about at the first of the hour. Now we have the Pope putting in place in Washington, D.C., this new cardinal.
Well, Doug, and this is particularly interesting to me because we see the political moves. We see even some cultural moves,
right,
with people like Zuckerberg and Dana White coming together. And then we think about the spiritual, and you mentioned that. And, you know, we talk a lot about how there is a great tribulation coming. and how there's going to be a revival that comes in the midst of that. So while there's bad coming, there's going to be a lot of amazing times that we have in the spirit realm. Of course, we'll be alive and have our physical beings, so it's like it's not just the spirit realm, but a lot of amazing things are going to happen like we've never seen or even heard about. I think about the latter rain being greater, and we are entering into that time, and so there's going to be some greater things that happen. And so you would think that in the spiritual realm, if you start thinking about the spiritual side of things, religious side of things, I know there's a lot of people who have ideas about what that means. They might think of, you know, major spiritual leaders. They're going to look, you know, in the media world, they're going to look to TBN and Daystar. Those are the two largest television channels in the world. They're the two largest Christian television channels in the world. And so people will mention some names from there. Of course, I know the Daystar side of thing is a hot button right now, but people will think of people that Joel Osteen, and you'll think of spiritual leaders in that sense. And you go, okay, well, what are they doing right now? Well, then when you get to the Pope, well, it seems that he's not aligned. And so, and how is that? Of course, we've talked a lot about the things that the Pope has said, whether it be about open borders, even some gun control stuff, LGBTQIA plus community stuff, and now he goes and appoints this this Trump critic, which we're not saying everyone has to be on the Trump train, but we're highlighting this story because the leader of the church, quote unquote the church, appoints this cardinal as the new leader of the Catholic Church in Washington. That's an interesting move, it seems.
So and I mean, you're talking about the Washington D.C. cardinal, the cardinal over that area, and so when you think about that, it's
those of us that aren't Catholic. Is that like the general manager? Is that?
You know, I don't know exactly how. I mean, cardinals are like the highest ruling party within
the local area.
Within
under the Pope.
capital. I mean, within the Catholic Church. So I mean,
it's Pope
it's
and then
cardinals,
all the cardinals,
and then the bishops. And so the two ruling classes in there, like the cardinals are the ones that wear that scarlet, and then the bishops are the purple. But the cardinals have a lot of pull, and this cardinal lines up with the way that this Pope believes. And I don't know, you know, for the past couple of years, the Pope's been putting cardinals in place that line up with his ideologies, and it goes against what a lot of Catholic people believe.
I guess we better look at that on the other side of the break, because these details are pretty amazing. You won't want to go anywhere. You've got to hear this. So we'll be right back. See you on the other side of the break.
The Roman government controlled the world. So many people were looking for a different Messiah, a rescuing Messiah. Remember the story of the woman at the well. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. And Jesus said unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. Jesus very clearly stated that he was God and that he was the Messiah. We're even more blessed because we haven't seen those things, but yet we believe. When Jesus cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He knew every one of these prophecies had to be fulfilled. He said, it is finished.
Now streaming on one source and available to order at endtime.com/revealed. Go to endtime.com/revealed or call 800-ENDTIME.
Welcome back to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. I want to remind you again that Dave Robbins will be in the Dallas area this weekend to start our conference schedule. You can go to endtime.com/events to learn more about the details, the specific address and such. There is no registration requirement, but it is first come, first serve. So if you want to be front and center, or want to get the best seat in the house, get there early and make sure you get that seat saved. And of course, we'll be around. Our team will be there, and I think Judy Baxter will even be there. So if you've never got to meet her before, you definitely want to do that. And yeah, make plans to attend endtime.com/events. It's Saturday night at 6 p.m., Sunday night at 6 p.m. Dave's launching a brand new lesson that he feels very burdened about. Feels like the world needs to hear what God has given him for this time and this year specifically. There's some amazing miracles that have been developing, and he's going to be sharing about those Saturday night. So make plans. And then if you want, it wouldn't be a really good reason to come, Doug. You know how it is when you're the one on the schedule. But Sunday morning at 9 and 11, I'll be preaching at that same place as well. All those details are listed at endtime.com/events. So come on out. We'd love to see you there.
Moving parts.
Lots of moving parts.
An end time day at North Cities Church on Sunday and Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
So the whole weekend.
Wonderful time. And I do want to mention we've got a brand new series on Only Source, and it is a must watch for all of you. If you've been watching End Time for any amount of time, we're excited to announce this brand new series. It's releasing weekly. On Only Source. It's exclusively available there. You can go to endtime.com/grace. It's by a gentleman that has been a guest on our show a number of times, Dr. Jim Littles. He'll be teaching about grace and helping you wrap your mind around God's wonderful grace from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And man, it is something that everyone needs to go watch tonight. You can binge through all. They're only 20 to 30 minutes long, and there's 4 episodes that are out, and they will release weekly until all of them are out. So be sure to go to endtime.com/grace and start watching the Grace series. We've been telling you for a while now that new content, we used to say, is coming to End Time Plus, and then obviously God radically started shifting some things, and so new content is still coming, and this is one of the big new series that God has allowed us, what all God is doing, so be sure to check that out.
Got another email today, a lady that follows us. She said how great that series is.
Wonderful.
So she didn't know about it. She got on Only Source recently, and she said that there's so much stuff on there she can't even keep up with what's coming at her. But she said, I'm watching that Grace series, and she said, I love it. So we've had at least 2 that I know that are highly recommending that series, and it's on there as well as a whole lot of other product that's on there, a lot of other programs that are on there. So.
Well, Doug, you know very well that our burden here, your burden, everyone's burden here at End Time is to expand God's kingdom.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do that in every way that we can. Of course, a lot of times for End Time, that has been talking about Bible prophecy. Yeah. But there are other ways to expand God's kingdom, and this is one of those ways, and there's no telling what all the Lord will do before it's over with, but I'm here for it. I'm excited to help make it happen, and I can't wait to be part of what God is doing in this End Time revival. Speaking of the End Time revival, we mentioned the spiritual aspects going on with what Pope Francis has done. Can we talk a little bit more about this new Cardinal Robert McElroy, that he's placed as the Cardinal of the Catholic Church in Washington, D.C. And from everything that we're seeing, this Cardinal is I don't know if anti-Trump is appropriate or even how much it matters, but it's just interesting timing with all the things going on that he would appoint this man as the Cardinal over the D.C. area.
Yeah, well, I mean, this comes from the Jerusalem Post, too, and they even kind of called this out as it's kind of like a thumb in the eye to Trump there, because this guy has called for resistance to Trump's planned mass deportation campaign in his first administration. Well, think of what he's going to do now as Trump has said, we're going to round up a lot of these criminals that have come in this country and these terrorists that have come in here through our open borders, and we're going to get them out of here. And this guy's he's going to push because he, like I said before the break, he aligns with the Pope and with his ideas of this one world order and how, this Pope has said we need a ruling one world government that rules over us, like the UN, like the EU, to rule over us. And so he has basically said we need this in our life. And this cardinal agrees with that, and agrees with that open border policy, and kind of just bringing everybody in so that there is more of a global view of things instead of a nationalist type of thinking. And it's going to be hard to do here in the United States now, I think, because a lot of people have woken up to what's been going on, and now that Trump's back in there, they do want to make America great again. But this came out, this appointment, this is what they said. The appointment was announced on the anniversary of January 6th Capitol attack, and it's been interpreted as a symbolic statement on leadership and morality in American politics. And so they feel like the Pope did this very deliberately on that day. This cardinal also, like you said before, he is a huge inclusionist of the LGBTQ Catholics and the ordination of women as deacons. So a lot of things that are controversial within the church, this guy is for. And like I said, he lines up more with this Pope, because this Pope is for these things too. And, you know, I mean, the Pope has even said that, you know, Christianity is not the only way to get to God, that many people call God by many different names. And so this Pope has made statements like that, and now he's got this cardinal in Washington, D.C., who I believe it will be something that he'll push back against some of the policies that the Trump administration is going to put out.
Well, there's no doubt. Cardinal McElroy has a doctorate in theology and politics.
Right.
And his academic work is focused on American foreign policy. And since they're coming out in favor of open borders, it's obvious where he's going to land. And of course, I don't really understand what an LGBTQ Catholic is. I don't understand how those, it would be like saying someone that's a Catholic that's also in favor of abortion. I'm not sure how those things. I know the Catholics of old would look at that and go, wait, what?
Yeah.
And so maybe I'm stepping on too many toes right now. I don't know, but nonetheless, it's very obvious that the ideas are quite different than not just Trump, Doug, but American politics in general. It seems like there's been a shift, not just in politicians, but in young people, in citizens all over, not just in liberal, or not just in conservative states rather, but when you look and see what's going on, even in large parts of California, when we went to Long Beach last October at that conference and we met so many people from California, they said, hey, we're not all like what the news, just like Israel, the news gets reported on. It's not all that way. I know we've got a number of end-timers from California, and they're going, we're not like what they say we're like. And so it's been amazing to see. I don't know if it's a total, there's some shifting that's occurred, but also that there's many out there that got their voice back, it seems like. And so America seems to have changed, and it's interesting to see how things are coming together.
It is. It's very interesting to see all this begin to happen. And here's the thing. So for a long time, we've talked about these prophecies that we're going to kind of buzz through here in a second. But one of the things people were saying during the Biden administration, remember, they kept asking us, how are we going to get there from here? This just doesn't look like it's going to happen. We're falling more and more into world government. And we tried to remind them, well, look where the bear is right now. Look where Russia is right now. They're not lined up with the UN either. And things are looking like, you know, how can they be the feet of the bear, be that military force of the UN and the one world government? And we told everybody, just, you know, things are going to shift, things are going to change. And now we see this, because these are the prophecies, especially for those who may be watching for the first time, or you don't know that much about this ministry and you just started watching recently, is in Revelation 12:14, there is a promise there. There is a scripture that says, and to the woman were given the 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she's nourished for a time, times, and a half time from the face of the serpent. Now, we believe those 2 wings of the great eagle, that's the United States of America. That is a symbolic showing of us, because back in Daniel chapter 7, Daniel sees 4 beasts, and the first one is a lion with eagle's wings, and he watches until the wings are plucked out of that beast, and they're made to stand on the feet of a man, and man's heart's given to it. So there's a lot into that I can't cover today, but we believe that scripture is specifically talking about us standing with Israel and helping her during the time of the Great Tribulation, that times and a half a time. And Vince, we know that Revelation 13, 1 and 2, it shows us that world government beast, and it talks about it has 7 heads, it has 10 horns, it has the mouth of a lion, the feet of a bear, and the body of a leopard. All of those beasts from Daniel chapter 7 are found in that scripture in Revelation 13, 1 and 2. And the dragon, which is the devil, gives him his power, his seat, and his great authority. So the devil will control the Antichrist, and the Antichrist will be running this one world government beast system. And he also has this spiritual leader who is his friend called the false prophet. And so in Revelation 13, it's laid out. We've got a study called the Master Plan of the Dragon, and it's laid out in there, and it kind of tells us what the plans are of the devil and how he's going to try to set up that government. But in Revelation 13, 11, and 12, it says that there's another beast, a second beast, that looks like a lamb, but he speaks like the dragon, and the dragon is the devil. So he's going to look holy, or he's going to look like a Jesus figure, a spiritual figure, but yet he will talk like a politician from the one world government. Well, we're beginning to see that with this Pope, with these cardinals are lining up with this one world government stuff, and we're watching this, and so that spiritual leader backs the one world government. And so we know that these things are coming, and with these stories that we share with you today, we're watching America become that eagle again. Just the other day, Dave did a story where Joe Biden had signed into law that we were officially, the eagle was our symbol. And so we've known that for a long time, but Joe Biden comes out and writes a document and says, yes, the eagle is our symbol. And so there's huge things that are happening. There's a lot there that I know we can't go into today, but we will as this goes on and this year continues. We're going to have lots to talk about.
It's wild, Doug.
It is wild.
I can't believe we're here. I can't believe all the things that are just happening. It seems like it's right in front of us, like never before. To hear how the Pope has progressed since I remember, being in high school and hearing the Pope, and just how different the Pope has become. Obviously, I know it's changed hands a few times, but the voice of the Pope, the voice of, the Catholic Church at large, how different the official spokesman, maybe that's offensive to say that even, but just to hear how the messaging has changed so dramatically to align with this one world government system. And since we see that hand in hand in Bible prophecy, and we see this happening right now, and there's an opposing effort to that, it's wild to see how here it is shaping up. So exciting times that we live in. We're so grateful that you are a partner here with End Time Ministries. This show is made available for free every single day now through OnlySource, and of course on the radio around the United States and on watch.osn.tv. It's made available for free because of partners like you that give every single month. So if the Lord's laying it on your heart to give, please consider going to endtime.com/give to continue to help reach this world. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time. God bless.